Hi, and welcome to Carolina Varsity's 2013 Week 10 review and 11 preview of the South Mecklenburg 8 Conference. I'm Dale Ross.
And I'm the fifth man, Matt Morrow.
And Matt and folks out there, we're going to also talk about the conference standings currently, and we'll talk about playoff projections. Catholic is obviously in first place. Providence is close in second with a big game at the end of the season. Tied with two losses is West Mecklenburg and South Mecklenburg for that number 3 seed.
Right.
So pretty big. Then followed by Olympic, Ardrey Kell, and Harding. Last week, Catholic defeated West Mecklenburg 29-13. I attended the ball game. It was not a 29-13 game. Actually, I think that last score at the end of the ball game made it a little bit bigger than it appears to be. A very close ball game. Elijah Hood had 3 big touchdowns. You know, it's kind of, if you're West Meck, your defensive game plan worked great about 90% of the time. They were able to stop Hood and actually got some negative yards on them a few times. But
what did they do to stop?
Well, they did run a 5-man front, and I think they're them and a linebacker that I'm going to call out, number 56, LaRon Glenn. It's mentioned to me by some of my West Meck friends that I need to be talking about that kid. I think they just played good defense, a good, fairly sound defense, but there were a couple of times they were not sound. And it was always out on the edge, believe it or not. It was out on the, running at the tight end, Hood, and he got some big 50-plus yard runs to pick up 3 big touchdowns. So, you got to see. It's great when you stop them 90% of the time, but you let him get 3 runs of around 50 yards. That's not enough that's not enough stopping to win the ball game.
They're a tough team to stop.
They are a tough team to stop.
And we love you, Catholic.
There's no hate. Catholic threw the ball a fair amount. Catholic got a momentum pass interference, I think. West scored first, took 8 minutes off the clock. 8 minutes to score. So 4 minutes left, Catholic got the ball. They did a long drive, 3rd and 10 from around midfield. Almost a desperation throw. Van Smith went up to, and I thought made a good play on the ball. Fisher didn't think he made a good play. Threw a pass interference that was down around the 10-yard line. But anyway, they got Catholic allowed that drive to continue, and from that point on, it was you could tell a momentum, kind of a little bit of a slight momentum shift happened there. And then in the second half, I think a big loss. It was a big loss to West Mecklenburg. It was a pass over the middle. He took a knee to the head. And we don't know his condition, but hopefully you're okay.
All right.
So anyway, Catholic won a big ball game, and they've got themselves on the way to the number 1 seed out of the conference. And just looking at the playoffs, Catholic, Providence, West Mecklenburg all have 6 wins. So they're in. You're going to talk about where they sit. On the bubble is Ardrey Kell and Olympic with 5 wins. So there's no guarantee that either team's going to make it in from what I saw with 5 wins. And then also sitting on the bubble, interestingly enough, is South Mecklenburg. 2 wins, and they're not only going to get that 5 wins that puts them on the bubble, but that would, as we will talk about, could create a mess.
Yeah. At the top, it's a lot easier. You got Catholic, like we mentioned there, they control their own destiny. If they win out, they'll get the number 1 seed, and they'll be in the 4A bracket, a smaller version. And I think they can make a run for a. In some ways, it's easier than the 3A or 3AA brackets where it came. Providence, we got number 2 right now. Also, they're in control of their own destiny. If they beat Catholic and South Meck, they'll be the 1 seed, based on tiebreaker head-to-head with Catholic. West Meck's in 3rd. They went out. They'll be the number 3 seed with Berry and Harding. But we have a little bit of quandary. Yep. Because then we got South Mecklenburg here that went over Olympic. If they win out, we have the possibility of not only a 3-way tie, but a 4-way tie. Now, we're not going to break down how all that can happen unless it's possible.
Next week.
Right.
Things will have to happen this Friday night for that to happen.
But it can get really messy here, and we could have all kind of drawings and all kind of craziness. And that would be for the number 2 seed, the number 3 seed, and then the ones that lose out on those two would be wild cards.
Well, the 4-way tie would actually be would create a draw for the number 1 seed if we got into that, because it would include Catholic. So yeah. We'll discuss that next week.
Right now, Ardrey Kell's got 5 wins. Like you mentioned, they're on the bubble. They got Catholic and South Meck left. They are literally sitting on the bubble. And they were there last year going into their last game of Providence, and they lost.
Yep.
So they've been here before, and, that game with South Meck could really be interesting if South Meck wins this week.
Almost definitely.
Yeah. Berry and Harding, Berry, they need to win out just to get to 4. 4 is probably not going to get you in. And then Harding, if they win out, they get 5, but they only have 2 in the conference. And you're really on the edge with those kind of numbers. That's what we got with the South Meck 8. And it can be real interesting based on the way things break down this weekend. We'll update it on the forums over on Saturday, and we'll discuss it again next week.
Exactly. So, and we have projections of the 4A, 4AA, East-West up on the site. So come join us, talk about them, bash them, crash them, throw your own up there. Thank you.